What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Another week of two brothers, same mother, and it's a family affair. Rightfully so, because Sunday we saw a kissing of sisters, basically. Just a reminder, I'm Sheik. This is AJ over here, and as you can see, a tie.
There's bad things happen in Philadelphia,
And you can try to do positive. Hey, the last time we tied was against Cincinnati in 2008, and we went to the NFC Championship game. This it wasn't in September. This team looks far from competing for anything. Yes, I know we're only a half game behind the division, but that's and it's only week 3. This just looks like a very bad Eagles team. What do you think?
Yeah, we are. This is Kotite-esque bad football.
Now, see, I remember a little bit of Kotite. This reminds me almost of Bobby Hoyne Ray Rhodes. That 3-13 season. Now, are they as bad as that team? No, but they're closer to that team than that team in 2017.
Oh yeah, got it.
Without a doubt. But let's start with some positive stuff. Let's go with what went right. And we're going to start with the first thing that's pointed out, and I feel like this is going to be the same thing every single week because I think he's ready for superstardom, and that's Miles Sanders. I wish we would have rode him more. I wish we would have didn't. They tried to get him the ball more with some stuff, and it didn't work out. But what were you seeing with Miles?
Miles, once again, I said it. I think I said it last week. They need to ride 2-6, and he had 20 touches altogether, and it's a bright spot. It's like you said, one of the things that very few things that went right. But you could also put as what went wrong as well, because once again we didn't go to him enough.
Now there was a lot of balance with run pass. Consistently, you saw 7 runs, 7 pass on a drive, or 5 runs, 5 pass. But there would be times it just seemed like we would get away from it, and we would get or Miles Sanders would be rolling, and all due respect to Boston Scott and Corey Clement, and when they were in there, they were doing okay too. It's just like there seems to be a running back rotation for the sake of rotation. Now, at some point towards the end of the game, I mean, the commentators were mentioning it, and I'm sure Miles Sanders needed a breather, but I think the kid's ready for 25 carries.
It just seemed like when he was starting to get hot and the offensive line was getting rolling, we would go away from it. There was a span in the first half where we threw the ball 7 straight times after the first 2 games of the season, which was an historically bad run defense.
Yep.
And in the second half, 9 straight times.
Right.
Once again, against a historically bad run defense. Not only that, a patched together offensive line, you want to gain them some confidence. Okay? So you're doing that, and the quarterback, which I know we're going to get to, a quarterback who I have been a huge fan of since he came from North Dakota, is mentally cooked at this point. And so,
yeah, to me, I don't think you need to give him as many carries as, say, Derrick Henry. No. But Brian Westbrook, 300 touches for the season. The kid can handle it. Another person who actually was a former Bengal and has only been in the league for a few years, we don't think about it like that, that has been solid for us. The kicker, Jake Elliott. I hate to go to kicker, but hey!
That just lets you know how bad we are. That we're pumping up our kicker. And honestly, in years past, we always joke around. If it's under 40 yards, you hold your breath with Jake Elliott, but he's actually been pretty consistent this year. I think he had 1 miss in week 1, and actually has been on the money ever since.
The book on him was he can't get touchbacks. Unless if it was planned for him not to get a touchback, he's been kicking it out of the end zone pretty much. So he's been doing a great job. The fact that we're talking about essentially 3 stars, not to use a hockey term, and we're going to Jake Elliott.
Yeah.
But one guy who stepped up big, and it's interesting, the Eagles had 8 sacks. And me and AJ were talking. Mentioned the defensive line did a great job, and he stopped me and said, "No."
Yeah.
Who was it?
Brandon Graham. Brandon Graham. I don't know if I don't know if he took some pre-workout or something on the sidelines, and it kicked in. But watching him live during the game and then going back last night and rewatching the game, it was like somebody on that Bengals sideline must have talked about his mama or his girl.
Or his wife.
Or his daughter, something, because it was like enough is enough. In the old Popeye saying,
all I can't stand no more.
He just kind of just went off, like, and the stats aren't really going to show, but he did. Brandon Graham was just all over the field, especially the second half, and which opened everything up for the rest of the defensive line.
Here's the cool thing, though. That's the last point there. Brandon Graham turned it on, and suddenly Malik Jackson started doing more. Fletcher Cox finally made an appearance. Derek Barnett,
he was all over the field.
I never thought I would, and this is troubling when you root for a guy to make a tackle. But I'm rooting hard for Derek Barnett, and he looked really good. And the Eagles had 8 sacks. It didn't just affect the defensive line. Brandon Graham turned it up, and you saw almost everybody in the defense started turning it up. Jalen Mills looked good too and had confidence to start flying around even more, which he's been solid the past 3 games.
Yeah, he hasn't been. No, he hasn't been. You don't look at Jalen Mills like, oh, he has actually been better than a lot of people anticipated. I thought he would actually make the transition pretty well because he did play that in LSU.
Biggest complaint about the defense that I've heard people make, or one of the biggest complaints, I shouldn't say the biggest, is that the defense didn't have a leader and an identity, and I feel like they were trying to give that to Rodney McLeod, and it's nothing against Rodney McLeod. I think Brandon Graham stepped up and said, "I'm the leader of this defense." On Sunday. Now, let's go to. We can make a list of 15 things of what went wrong. We just have a long, long list, and we're going to start with the most obvious thing. And it's a shame; it hurts me to say this, but Carson Wentz. And you brought up a big point. You've already mentioned it once, but I want you to elaborate. You described Carson Wentz as a particular word, which was?
Cooked. He's mentally cooked. Skill set wise, he's not. He still has a big arm. He still can break out of tackles. For some reason, he looked like he wasn't as fast. Now, granted, it's 3 years later from the 2017 season.
Put on like 40 pounds.
He put on 40 pounds. But yeah, there was one of the runs, and it was a holding called back. But where the safety came up and he lowered his shoulder and ran the safety over, so that 40 pounds did help. But he did look a little sluggish when he was running, but it helped. The problem with Carson isn't his skill set. He doesn't have the diminished skill set. A lot of people are starting to compare him to Joe Flacco. He had that one great season. Joe Flacco had a lot of good seasons. His issue was age. Joe Flacco, age, injuries over the course of time started stepping up, and then his skills diminished. Wentz's skills aren't diminished. Wentz's issue are all right here.
This technically is his third offensive coordinator, so to speak, in 3 years, 4 years, because and it's more than just one or two people. I mean, we talked about DeFilippo and Frank Wright, and then you had Carson Walsh and Mike Rowe, and now Doug's kind of taking that over. But you have like 5 or 6 different coaches talking to him.
Well, you have Press Taylor, you got Marty Morningweg, who, based on even last week, if you guys watched or anything, know my feelings on Marty Morningweg. I don't understand how he still has a job in the league. And then I think there's like a couple other people. Like, it's crazy, like, how you have that. And then you see even more regression with Doug. So, like you said, every year since that 2017 season, he's had somebody else in his ear.
They're all mental mistakes. As far as decision making, the way he's making his throws, you mentioned
his fundamentals are
they're off. I mean, everything from footwork. You know, the switch sports for a quick second. I know you don't really watch baseball. For our baseball fans out there, Rhys Hoskins. They got into Rhys Hoskins' head. He came up, had a real hot start, And a new manager came in and a new hitting coach, and all of a sudden they're talking about how his launch angle and his exit velocity and where to put his hands. And they started messing with all these fundamentals, and all of a sudden the guy started hitting under 200. This year, they just told him just ball. And next thing you know, he was struggling for the first 10, 15 games, and all of a sudden he was hitting a home run almost every game, literally, before he got hurt. I think Carson Wentz, at some point, you need to sit there and say, just ball, and then kind of just pick away at the bad habits that he's developed, because the skills are there, but the fact that the guy is second-guessing hitting a slant or can't hit a deep ball. He never threw a great deep ball, but we're not talking about 50, 60 yards here. That overthrow to Miles Sanders.
You can't just tell him just a ball at this point.
You don't think so?
No, you can't. Because you tell him to just ball. He is so much in his head, you actually have to take the eraser, dry erase, wipe everything off. Okay? Go back to a certain amount of plays and stuff, almost a Cam Newton-esque. 1 to 2 reads. That's it. High, low, high, whatever way you want to do it. Right now, you have to, like I said, wipe the slate clean and almost rebuild him back up and help him gain his confidence. You can't just say, hey, Carson, play your game. Because right now, Carson in his head doesn't know what his game is. Because he's had too many people telling him what not to do and what to. He is mentally cooked to where he doesn't even know what to do anymore. And people are like, oh, well, he's a professional. Yo, he's still a human being. You have to rebuild him.
And let's be clear, physically cooked and mentally cooked are two totally different things. Mentally cooked, you could come back from being mentally cooked.
Yes.
Because he has showed that he has the mental capacity. But when you doubt yourself...
So much.
I mean, you can even look a few years ago. Well, actually, it's going back further and further. Remember, the Patriots had started like 1-2. They got destroyed by Kansas City. And Tom Brady was kind of second-guessing himself. Now, he came back from that. Obviously, went to a couple more Super Bowls. Now... With that being said, and that's at the highest level, anybody can become mentally cooked. But I want to lead this into the next thing, which is play calling. And I didn't think the play calling was that great yesterday. And it's because you have to do stuff to help your offense and your defense. And to stick with Carson, I like the idea of ABC. That's it. Just you said high low. Okay, you got the high read, the low read, and then if that's not there. If you're going to do
take
it,
off.
Take the old Cam Newton thing, take off.
Yeah.
It seemed like when we moved the pocket, it worked. And when I say that, it might not have always been a completion, but when we moved the pocket, it was way easier for Carson to throw the ball away. Now, there was times he threw the ball away, still took a hit, and he seemed like as the game went on, and some of those plays were called, he was better at getting the ball out of his hands and not trying to extend it unless he had to. But there was too little of moving the pocket to me. There was too little creativity. The one play where there was some creativity, and the Bengals did have a breakdown, but where you saw, a drag route here, a crossing route there, a deep route there, everybody was open. And we went for a touchdown to Greg Ward.
And it's crazy because when Carson came into the league 2016, right? Caught the world by fire, old Wentz wagon, Wentzylvania, Ginger Jesus, all that, right? It's because they were moving the pocket. He was being athletic. He was doing a bunch of different things. Okay? 2017 happens. In the pocket. Power run game. And the shiftiness of, of like a emerging young Clement. And then you added Jay Ajayi. And you were able to mix that up. You were able to do that with him. And it opened everything else up with the creativity. Then there was the debacle of 2018 season, which I personally felt they brought him back too early. Yeah. And then you had last year. Last year, he didn't look quite as bad. You can tell he struggled a little bit. Had a couple moments. We were 4-7, right? 4-7, and they started, like you said, they started moving the pocket, started running the ball, and all of a sudden Carson was able to do
Yeah, being 5-7 after that loss to the Dolphins, and then throwing off 4 straight. And I understand who they played and all that stuff, but still, you got to execute.
You got to see how he looked, though.
Yeah, and he looked great.
He was accurate. He was putting the ball where he needed to be. He was throwing people open. Right now, like just having him stand back there, and I've never played quarterback. Maybe two-hand touch or in the median, tackle football in the median of Roosevelt Boulevard as a kid, but
which is a whole other story.
But dude, that was literally catch and just a lot. Like, I could have made that throw. And when you have a quarterback that's and it's not like it happened this game. You saw it since the end of the first half of the Redskins game.
But I say with Deshaun and with Jalen Reagor, and it's a shame Jalen Reagor is just going to be out for so long.
Right.
But you're overthrowing very, very fast people. And it's throws that we've seen the man make before. So
And how we know the skills are still there, literally the same route.
With Ertz, right?
With Ertz. And it was actually a higher degree of difficulty because it was further down the field. He actually had somebody hitting him, and it was a dime.
Mm-hmm.
So he still has it in him. It's at this point in time, it's the coaches.
And one other thing I want to put on coaching, because you have to, and what went wrong is the discipline. Bad teams are not disciplined. Plain and simple. They had 11 penalties, a couple personal fouls. We all saw that Matt Pryor, as of now, Matt Pryor is still on the team. I don't know if he makes it to Sunday. Jumping off sides when you're lining up for a field goal, there's no excuse for that.
I don't put that on Matt Pryor because 2 plays prior to that is when Jason Peters went down, and Jason Peters is the one that plays that position. Matt Pryor, from my understanding, never played that position. He shouldn't have jumped. But what I'm saying is, live bullets go in, you go in there. If you never played that spot,
let them hit you. Listen, you're going for a game-winning field goal. You do not move. You are fat. You are big. You are bulky. Let him hit you. That big
but the thing is he wasn't even coming forward. The dude was shifting over.
But that big fat man is not going to be able to run you over, jump, and block the kick. It's not going to happen. When you jump off sides on a game-winning field goal, okay, that is straight 100% undisciplined. There is no excuses.
Well, if we jumped off sides, we would have got 5 more yards, and we would actually win the game.
False start. Yes.
There is no excuse.
And I'll look at. I want to mention this with the play calling, but it's also with discipline as well. That whole sticks defense thing has to go. That is the absolute worst thing. We always talk about prevent. All prevent defense does is prevent a win.
Yeah.
And that sticks defense is a 3rd and 19, and you have a bunch of people lined up on at the stick where you're going to get the first down. That's silly. The Cowboys 2 years ago were just running screens and just beat us with it. And everybody does it since then. Stop it with that.
We got beat, I think, 7 times last year with it. We've gotten beat like 3 times this year with it. I think in every game we've gotten beat on it. The sole play, regardless of how good, and that's the crazy thing, because at that point in time, Brandon Graham and that defensive line were turning it around at that point in time. As a player, I would be like,
I'd be insulted.
Yeah, because at 3rd and 19, they're on our side of the field. I think they were like at the 40-yard line on their own 40, and my man gains 42 yards. I mean, like,
if you want to keep things in front of you, okay, so let's say you're playing, 2 deep, and instead of your safeties being, lining up maybe 8 or 9 yards back, they're lining up 12, 13 yards. I don't have an issue with that. The idea that you don't trust your team to keep stuff in front of them, that's what it's saying. It's saying, I have to place you here because I don't trust that you can backpedal or anything, which you're talking about Nate Gary, he can't get deep on anything. But it's so ridiculous because we're not a great tackling team either.
I don't know if it's a trust thing. I just think it's, I'm Jim Schwartz and I'm the smartest guy in the room thing. Once again, I said it last week, he's probably the most arrogant coach I've ever watched. The first person, because there's going to be a fire sale. There has to be a fire sale at the end of the season. Regardless of how it turns out, there has to be a fire sale. You know what I'm saying? Take away the 2017 season. Every year, we're 4-6, 5-7. Every year. Okay? 2016, we chalked it up, rookie coach, rookie quarterback. Okay, and honestly, some of the games, i.e. the Detroit game, when we were trying to hold on to the lead, Ryan Matthews fumbles, they kick a field goal, boom, they win.
Right.
So some of it wasn't. It was from veterans that were, you know what I mean? 17, like I said, take away 17. 18, right? Year 3 with these guys. Brought Carson back too early. And Nick looked like doo-doo in the first 2 games. And then Carson gets hurt. Nick comes back, takes us on the playoff run. 2019, year 4. Carson is up and down, showing his inconsistencies. Had a good game, bad game, good game, bad game. Then all of a sudden, go on a run at the end of the year, make the playoffs. Here we are again, struggling again.
You went life or death with the Bengals, who had the first pick in the draft the year before.
And the crazy thing is that you got out-coached for the 3rd week in a row. Schematically wise. Here, bruh. How?
2 hours later.
I'm sorry. I coached youth football for 11 years. I know guys at the youth league level that know how to schematically stop a tight bunch trips formation. Teaching fucking 9 to fucking 14-year-olds how to stop a bunch tight trips formation. And this jackass can't do it.
The coaches need to help this team. And you need to deal with what you have. You have a quarterback whose brain is scrambled right now. Mm-hmm. You have a very talented running back that's ready to break out. You have an offensive line who's getting it together and wants to be aggressive. And as you've ever coached offensive line, played offensive line, watch an offensive lineman on any level, you want to go out there and hit somebody. And that's what running the ball allows you to do. And the other thing, too, I mean, you have some receivers. Look, you have some receivers that just don't produce when they're out there. And you have some other receivers, the Greg Wards, the DeAndre Burnett's, that for some reason when they're there, good things happen. You got to stop trying to just press on certain things and realize this is what works, this doesn't. Let's go with what works for right now. And then if we could add something in there, we add something in there. But stop it with trying to fit stuff into your scheme and start scheming with what you've got and deal with just what the facts are. Let me tell you a coach who helps his quarterback, realizes what he's working with, and does very well. There's a guy by the name of Kyle Shanahan. He had a quarterback that I would not say is on the same talent level as Carson Wentz and Nick Mullins. They came away with a 36-9 victory. It's against the Giants, but they had 13 people out. This is who we play next
13
week.
13 starters.
13. And that defense, who is missing Richard Sherman, who is missing D Ford, who is missing Nick Bosa. 2 fumbles, 1 interception that they forced. They're missing their top 2 running backs. And they ran all over the field. They got 36 points. And at MetLife Stadium, where they had an issue with the stadium the week before, so I don't care what you say, it's still in your head a little bit when you have an issue with that, regardless of fans or whatever. The coach was able to get his players together, to get them forget everything about the field and all that mumbo-jumbo, forget about who's not here. This is what we're going to do. We're going to do what works well for Nick. We're going to do what works well for McKinnon, who just came back from a year worth of injuries, and they dominated. And we got to go to Levi Stadium Sunday night at 8:20 and see a coach who, yes, in the Super Bowl, that's his bugaboo, okay? But we saw a coach do what we want Doug to do, and Doug can do. At least we think so. We gave him credit for what he did in the 2017 season.
I don't think he can.
I just look at Kyle Shanahan, what he does with his offense. I look at the fact that they built their defense to be disciplined and tough. If you have a disciplined team, and you have a team that you stick to, all right, we're going to do a couple things right, but we're going to stick with this. And we're going to keep on just never giving up. You're going to steal a few games, and eventually you're going to start getting better because you bring more talent in. I know we're going to get into predictions and all that, but I don't see I just right now do not see how the Eagles don't lose by 14 or more points.
Me either.
I just don't. I don't care who's the quarterback. It could be Jimmy G. It could be Nicky M. It could be Steve Bono. It could be Giovanni. It doesn't matter. Who you bring anybody in there right now, this Eagles team is playing that bad. It just is. Is there anything you want to add? I know I just rambled for a lot.
I mean, it's just you got to rebuild Carson up. You're not going to get rid of him, okay? Because if you're not going to. Once again, in Philadelphia, the backup quarterback's the always most popular person. I remember when Donovan got hurt, he was actually struggling that year when he got hurt. A.J. Feely came in, balled out, and everybody was just like, oh, we should trade down, da-da-da-da.
Right.
The backup quarterback in Philadelphia for the Eagles is always the most popular player on the team, okay?
Right.
For the fan base. All right. I'm seeing people, let's see what I almost called him prior. Let's see what Jalen Hurts can do. You think with the play calling, the way these dudes is blocking, the way these receivers aren't getting open, you think that bringing in a first-year quarterback into that mess is a good thing? You're going to completely ruin his career before he even gets started.
Right.
Okay? So the whole Jalen Hurts shit, put out the window. Like I said, we're sitting at 2-11-1. All right, you know what I mean?
Well, I liked what they did. Boom. I liked what they did with having for a few plays, and as soon as he fumbled, like, all right, kid, sit down here. You're good.
All that's fucking cute. Next year, if you get rid of Carson, we're already $62 million over the cap. So if you cut Carson, okay, that's another $26 million against the cap. Well, hold on, right? So that's not going to happen. Okay? So then you got him. So you just going to win 2-3 games? No. So you have to. That's where you have to start right there as a coach. What the Eagles need to do in this offseason, number one, is get rid of Jim Schwartz. Period. Get rid of Jim Schwartz. Probably fire Howie Roseman. Okay? Forget all this, shotgun analyst and running back coach analyst and passing game this, and Doug needs to. Deuce, you have a mobile quarterback. You have the running backs. Deuce, offensive coordinator. Find a decent quarterback coach, and that's it. You get an actual GM in here that knows actually Howie is good with, we thought was good with contracts and stuff like that. And we thought it was great when they back-ended it. But then we also didn't expect these players, which, not to go on a tangent, which Brandon Graham balled out. But prior to that, I was like, man, he's old.
Right.
Like, we forget that Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox were Andy picks.
Mm-hmm.
This is Doug's 5th year.
You're right. You got to start looking for definitely a replacement for Brandon Graham, which I think that they were hoping Barnett would be. He's not going to replace Brandon Graham.
No.
He can be a starting defensive end, but he's a defensive end too.
But the thing is to break it all down, the reason why you have to do this with Wentz right now, got that with Wentz. You got a running back in place. You have to find a number 2. You have to get yourself a number 2 running back, okay?
And stop it with this new Darren Sproles stuff. I like Boston Scott, but stop it with that.
Offensive line, three of the offensive linemen you got to find a replacement for in the next year or 2.
And possibly 4. I mean, listen.
I think you got a guard. I think you got a guard in Herbert.
Okay, I thought I was going to talk about Brooks.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Brooks, so you got Brooks, but you take that, but you still need a replacement. Say Malo ain't that good. So I don't care what anybody says. So from the center, left guard, and left tackle, you need to replace that within the next year or 2.
Right.
Okay? Receivers. I think Jalen Rieger's going to be a good receiver. Okay, the next year or 2, it's already put out there. Zach Ertz is not going to be an Eagle. Okay, so you got Goddard. So you got a tight end. All right, cool. You got Rieger. Cool. So you got to add to that.
I think Hightower is a nice piece. I think Ward's a nice piece. Neither one of them is going to be an X or a reliable Y, in my opinion.
I think Rieger may be. I think he's just young.
I think Rieger. Yeah, I think Rieger could be an X or a Y, but you're going to need another person to line up beside them. I don't think Hightower is going to be ready to be that number 2 receiver.
No.
I think that Ward is a great slot receiver that we're underutilizing, and unfortunately, this is going back to Howie. Your lack of being able to draft stuff, whether it's Dillard or J.J. Arcega-Whiteside or that whole 2017 draft, with the exception of Barnett, like you've left us with nothing with wasted draft picks. And if you're going to
wasted draft picks and bad contracts on aging players, I think you got it good because Mills ain't that old, right?
No.
So I think Mills is a good cover safety, a good.
Mills is in his 4th season, I think. No, Mills is in his 5th. He came out the same year as Carson.
Okay. So you got him. So playing free safety, right? So he's good. I think McLeod's not going to be here next year. I think you're going to.
And who's the kid from Clemson?
That's what I was going to say. Kayvon Wallace.
Wallace
could come in and play strong safety. So I think you're going to be okay at safety. You got a cornerstone in a corner. I think Avonte Maddox is actually a good corner. Roby Coleman has not impressed me.
Roby Coleman is
not impressed me. I think maybe, and I actually kind of like the kid. I think maybe you need to start transitioning LeBlanc as maybe the nickel corner for next year. So you have some pieces there. So yeah, I mean, but you have so much money tied up in that defensive tackle spot. It's ridiculous. We have the highest paid, the defensive tackle spot. It's crazy, and it's between Fletcher Cox, Malik. I mean, they're all getting number 1 money.
Speaking of that, since we're going so far ahead and all this other stuff, we did this segment last week, and you actually did all right with some of the stuff, man. And it was called, is it real life or is it fantasy? So the whole idea is this. He doesn't play fantasy football. He doesn't gamble, doesn't do any of that stuff. But just using a coach's mind and your eyes and kind of football smarts, figuring out what fantasy football stuff is actually going to work out. And you mentioned about Miles Sanders having some big games.
Mm-hmm.
He still had a big game. You mentioned about Derek Carr doing well, and even though they lost to the Patriots, Derek Carr actually looks pretty good. Mm-hmm. And you also mentioned, I believe it was about A.J. Green. And A.J. Green still looks solid. He didn't have a huge game, but
I think he had 4 targets.
Yeah, but I mean, he caught every time I think he was targeted, just about.
Yeah, he did.
So, with that being said,
how about them Steelers? I told you.
Yeah, they gave up 21 points and only got you 3 points on fantasy. So yeah. So your defense is end. But the guy that we could have drafted, and I don't blame the Eagles for this, Justin Jefferson. 7 receptions, 175 yards, a touchdown. Great game, breakout game. He hasn't done anything all year. For your fantasy football enthusiasts, 62 points. If you're like me, you had him on your bench and you lost. Do you think Justin Jefferson becomes, by the end of the season, the Vikings' number 1 receiver?
No.
You think it's still going to be Thielen?
I still think it's going to be Thielen, just because of veteranness. Veteran, and Adam Thielen has been there, and he has built a rapport over a couple years, with 2 years now with Kirk Cousins, so 2 or 3 years with Kirk Cousins. So, listen, if there was another quarterback, I would say I think Justin Jefferson is, like I said, he's rookie feeling himself. Receiver is one of those positions to where it's not like sometimes it takes a little bit to get acclimated to the speed of the game and everything like that, and how precise you have to be, your routes have to be. So I don't think he's going to be a 7 catch a game every week.
Do you think he's closer to 7 receptions and a touchdown, or what he has been, which is like 0 to 1 reception?
Oh, I definitely think he's a 4 to 5.
Okay. Melvin Gordon, he hasn't really had a great year. He's been so-so. And, they had Phillip Lindsay with Denver as well. Phillip Lindsay was out. Only 26 rushing yards. against a Tampa Bay Bucs defense that's solid but not great. Do you think Melvin Gordon is going to be a solid running back this year?
Nah. I think Melvin Gordon's cooked.
Done.
I mean, and what I mean by done, I don't think, like you said, he's going to be the Melvin Gordon of San Diego, top 3 rushers in the league, all that stuff. But I do think he could be a good complementary back.
So you basically think Lindsey's going to be the starter in that
Yeah.
Okay. And Calvin Ridley, Atlanta Falcons. Now, if you were paying attention, Atlanta Falcons again blew a lead. But they were missing their number 1 receiver, Julio Jones. They were missing the 3rd receiver as well, so he kind of had the shoulder to load. He had 5 catches. Great performance. Do you think that, even regardless of Ridley's injuries, Calvin Ridley is going to be a Pro Bowl receiver?
Yeah, I mean,
the talent's there, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, Atlanta. It's not like Atlanta's losing blowing like a lead because it was like 17 points. Like they putting up points,
right?
And he's been their premier receiver. So yeah, absolutely, yeah. I definitely think he's going.
So Calvin Ridley's going to continue having a great year, and he might make the Pro Bowl over Julio Jones. That's what you're saying.
I ain't say that. It depends on how long Julio's out too, as well.
That's what he said. He said Julio Jones is trash.
No.
So okay, so there you go, fantasy football guru AJ over here.
Julio Jones is trash. That's crazy. No, you know who's trash? JJ on Whiteside is trash. 10 catches, 169 yards. Oh, but that's over 2 years.
Do you know? You know what else we needed to put in the trash? Our picks.
Oh man,
our picks were not that.
I was above. Oh no, I wasn't above 800. 500. Never mind.
Well, technically, you were above 500. Now we're shooting. We're shooting this on Monday, so the Monday night game was standing. Obviously, there's a push with the Eagles Cincinnati game, but I currently have 8 losses. He has 7 losses. So the one game that kind of did this in, and it's interesting because I don't feel like I was. Well, I can't say that. I was wrong. So I thought that Dak Prescott was going to outplay Russell Wilson. I did not anticipate Russell Wilson to throw 14 touchdowns in his first 3 games and to throw 5 touchdowns and break an NFL record. I did not anticipate that.
Do you know how to spell Russell Wilson in layman's terms?
W-I-N, apparently.
MVP.
I'm going to ride out with Kyle Murray, but I'm not confident. Here's the whole thing. I'm not ashamed of that. Russell Wilson played out of his mind. So
he's been playing out of his mind.
And he always does. I mean, I don't know. And so we'll start with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson does have a very, very hard game. He has to go to a very, very hard place to play with no fans, Miami. There's so many distractions with the beaches there, and their COVID restrictions aren't there. So are you expecting Seattle to have a letdown against the Dolphins? The Dolphins that made us look stupid, that put up 31 points on Gardner Minshew.
Let's get something straight. Listen, we were wrong about that, but Russell Wilson is not Gardner Minshew, okay? He is no. No.
What do you think the score is going to be?
31-10.
I think it's going to be 34-17. So very, very, very similar.
Okay.
Let's go to the Thursday night game. Thursday night, I feel sorry for Thursday night. They got another stinker here.
Eagles play?
It's even worse. The Broncos at the scary Jets. Now, I'll start with this. I think the Broncos win. And the reason why I say I think the Broncos win, now the Broncos did bench their quarterback, but they hung in there tough. I mean, they lost 28-10. So it wasn't like it was a really close game. But they hung in there. The Jets just look god-awful. The Jets just look bad. And, I mean, the Broncos have looked better than the Jets. I don't think it's going to be a great game, but I think the Broncos, it doesn't matter who's starting at QB. I think they win the game 20-13.
I'll say 20-13 as well. I'll agree with you on that.
Yeah, I mean, whoever has to watch that game is the loser of that. So
Yeah.
the Saints, who have a losing record, are going to be playing the Lions, who pulled out the victory against the Arizona
Saints, I thought
Cardinals.
they won 2 games.
Yeah, they're on a 2-game llosing streak. They lost to Green Bay.
Oh, yeah, they did lose last night.
Yeah,
They did lose last night. I'm old people. I'm with the
So the Saints are playing Detroit, who pulled out a great win against the Cardinals. Saints, Lions, who you got?
Saints. They're up and down. The Saints so far. Alvin Kamara, like they're going to put it on his back, and I don't think the Lions are going to have an answer for him.
I think the Saints are going to win, but I think it's going to be really, really close. I think till Michael Thomas comes back. Yeah. I think the Saints are going to struggle a bit. And the Lions are a sneaky good bad team. When I say that, their offense is a top 10 offense. It's their defense Matt Patricia was brought in for their defensive skills. So that's this team ends up winning 7 games. I think he's gone. But I think it's going to be 28-24 New Orleans.
I was going to say 27-24 New Orleans.
Oh, there we go. All right, we on a good path there. Chargers versus Tampa Bay.
Tom owns owns the Chargers. So whether they're in San Diego or in LA, he owns them. So whether they're wearing midnight blue or powder blue or whatever, lightning bolt or number on the side, no matter what, he owns them.
What's your score?
I want to go 24-14.
I got a 27-17. I think the Chargers are going to play a lot better than they did last week. It's one of those things where they play up and down to their team, it looks like.
You still got to lose by 10?
Yes, okay. Because, they took Kansas City to overtime. And I think it's going to be one of those things where it's, 27 or 17-20, and Tampa Bay puts it away with a touchdown type deal. The Jags versus the Bengals. Ooh.
The Bengals get their first win. I think offensively they do things, you know what I'm saying, moving around. The offensive line isn't very good. But I don't know. I like the Kid Burrow. 23-20, Cincinnati.
I have to agree. I think that that defense didn't look good for Jacksonville. You gave up 31 to Fitzpatrick, and the Bengals are very aggressive as well. I think Joe Burrow gets his first win, and I think it's going to be 28-20. 2 teams that I did not think would be 0-3. Minnesota Vikings against the Houston Texans.
Houston gets their first W. Cousins is just not a very good quarterback. And I'm going to say 24-13.
I think it's going to be a lot higher. I think it's 34-30. Yeah, okay. I think, Cousins kind of – well, not even Cousins. It's Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook is starting to turn it on, and it's opening stuff up for Cousins to make some nice throws. But Deshaun Watson is doing his thing too, and working with what he has. And I think this Vikings defense you could put up points on. So, Battle of Maryland. The Baltimore Ravens against a very, very tough Washington football team.
Listen.
It's in Landover. It is in Washington. You see what they could do in Washington.
Listen. Without Chase Young, without Ioannidis, a defensive tackle, I'm not saying they would have made much of a difference. This is going to be. This is not going to be pretty. This is going to be, Baltimore all day. And let's say 31-7.
I think they win 38-10. And I don't think it's close.
Real quick, one thing about with the Ravens, just to piggyback off what you said, the Ravens are great as far as being a bully. and landing the first punch and landing that powerful punch and keep punching you. The problem with the Ravens the last couple of years is when they get punched back, they don't do very well.
So, interesting game. Patriots against the Chiefs. I think that's a really interesting game, and I'll give my pick first. I think Kansas City's going to win. Bill Belichick is not sneaking up on Andy Reid. No. And Cam is still trying to figure stuff out. I think New England's going to be a great team. I think they're going to make the playoffs. I still think that they're going to win the division. But right now, they're not there yet. So I think the Chiefs win. I think the Chiefs end up winning. I think it's going to be 36-28.
I think the Chiefs are going to win just because they're just a better team. New England may make the playoffs, but they're not going to win that division.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm going to say 28-17. They just don't have enough firepower to keep up with that.
So we've agreed with all of our picks. I got a feeling this is going to be one we disagree on. Mm-hmm. Steelers against the Titans.
Steelers.
Okay.
They're just a better rounded team. Their defense is a good defense, and Roethlisberger's actually playing healthy for the first time in actually a few years. So 27-24.
I think Tennessee wins. I think they're going to play keep away ball. That's the only way you're going to be able to beat Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh likes to run the ball, but they've shown that Ben can air it out, and if they get down, Ben, there's no fear there. They showed they've been showing that all season, and I think they're just going to keep it out of Ben's hands. And I think it's going to be one of those things where both defenses are going to show up, and I think the Titans beat the Steelers 20-17.
Oh.
Cleveland Browns versus the Dallas Cowboys. This is one of those things where I would love to say that the Browns win, but I think the Cowboys win. I think the Cowboys have taken, they lost to the Rams. They almost lost to the Falcons. They lost to the Seahawks. They've all been three tough games regardless of what you see. This is a time where I think, even though the Browns I don't think are as bad as people think, the Cowboys kind of beat up on them a little bit physically. And I think they win 31-20. Every time I pick the Cowboys to win, they've lost. So either way, I win in this one.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Cowboys are going to win 31-17.
Cardinals against the Carolina Panthers. Cardinals coming off the first loss against Detroit.
Yeah, I think the Cardinals are going to win. They're going to have a bounce-back game. Carolina's, even though they won last week, they're just not a really good team. So I see them getting back on the right track. So I'm going to say 28-21.
Former Temple University and Baylor coach Matt Rule, they have the Carolina Panthers fighting. And they have them really buying in. All the players seem to be kind of a tight-knit group. I don't think it's going to be enough for the Cardinals, though. But I think it's going to be tight. I think it's going to be 28-24. Colts against the Bears, and this is going to be an interesting one. We'll figure out. I would imagine Nick Foles is going to start for the Bears the way that he brought them back. I don't see them going back to Mitch to start the game anyway. And the Colts, they played the Jets. They looked great, but it's the Jets. Phillip Rivers I always think is a wild card. You don't know which Phillip you're going to get. But and for what it's worth, it is in Chicago, which the reason why I bring that up, one's an outdoor stadium, one's an indoor, which can play a little bit of an effect. What's your thoughts? That's I don't know.
No, I know. I was trying to find the right words to say, or how I was going to start it off. Okay, so everybody knows Philly. Everybody knows all that, right? In Chicago, they got run to the L. That's literally what he told the receiver to do last week for the game-winning touchdown. Mm. What do we call him here in Philly? Big Dick Nick. He's going to lead the Bears to a win. And I think the Bears are going to put it on them. I think it's going to be 28-17.
Yeah, we might call Nick BDN. But Philip got all those kids. And he proving that shit.
Woo. Stay off her, Philip. Stay off of her.
That poor woman. I think the Colts win this.
Hanging below me to another level.
my man's trying to get to how to have a whole 53. But I think
his wife's middle name is Meat Curtains.
Beef curtains.
Gene.
You said I could say that once a year.
Yes, on your birthday.
So there's a guy that is playing for the Colts that wasn't expecting to start. Played for Wisconsin, Jonathan Taylor, running back. He's one of the monsters. And I think that it's not on Nick Foles. It's not on the Bears. I think the Bears. That was just straight Nick and the Falcons collapse, which they've been doing every week. It seems like. The other Bears game against the Lions also collapsed. Like this is a very soft 3-0. And I think that the Bears lose to the Colts. I think the Colts are just a better team. And I think we're going to see good Phil this week. Giants at Rams. Rams win. I'm sure you agree.
Yeah, Rams win. It's not even close to that.
Colts Bears. I think Colts win 23-17. Giants Rams. I think the Rams win 31-12.
Who the fuck you give Randall 12 from?
That's the only person that's balling for them.
They're gonna kick 4 field goals. I don't even think they're gonna get. I don't even think they really even cross the 50. Yeah, no. 35-3.
Bills versus the Raiders. They are playing at the Death Star, which
That's a dope ass stadium.
it is a dope stadium. I'm curious. Where do you think you're going with this?
Listen, man. Josh Allen, that defense, DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, I like the Raiders. I like
DeAndre Hopkins. Stephon Diggs.
Jesus Christ. I don't think the Raiders have enough firepower.
What's the score for you?
I want to say 24. I want to say it's going to be a close one, 24-21.
I think the Raiders are the new Saints. When I say that, I don't mean offensive-wise or defensive-wise. I mean the Raiders are just going to look like a different team at home than on the road, at least for this first year. I think the Raiders win. I think the Bills are due to kind of have a bit of a letdown game, and in my opinion. And I think the Raiders win 21-17. Monday night, Falcons against Green Bay. I don't think we need to pick a winner as much as how big of a lead are the Falcons going to blow this week.
I don't even think they're going to get a lead this week. I don't think they can keep up with Green Bay.
Can't blow a lead if you're always down.
Yep. So I think Green Bay wins this one hands down, 31-17.
I think this is the time where Atlanta finally just falls apart. And I'm going to go just one step further. I think Green Bay wins 38-17. So I think it's going to be a little bigger. And we get to the Sunday night game. Eagles, Niners. What's your prediction?
Niners. And I think at halftime it's going to be like a 3-point game or whatever. If they want to score a 3-4 point game, Niners. And then the second half is going to start, and then they're just going to get the roll in, and we're going to get outcoached again. This is where the Eagles implode. And I think, completely implode, and I think that the final score is going to be, I want to say 28-13 Niners.
So, I mean, the Eagles have been playing down to their competition, haven't really stepped up when they need to. I mean, you saw it with Washington. I mean, you saw it with the Rams, just the out-coaching and the decision-making by Carson. You saw it with the Bengals. Rally cap's going on, baby. Everything changes. Everything changes this Sunday. Miles Sanders will have over 100 yards rushing and over 50 yards receiving. Carson Wentz is going to play a little bit of small ball. The defense will get their first takeaway. 21-17 Birds.
Flashback.
I just right now do not see how the Eagles don't lose by 14 or more points.
End of flashback.
Why do I say that? This was full when it started, so you notice how much I've had. But beyond that, it's just straight fandom.
That is insane. That is insane.
And I will just say this. I mean, we didn't get into anything about gambling stuff or anything like that. The one thing that I had mentioned that you said you were against, but then you were with as well, was taking the over in the Bears game. That hit. So, hey, there you go. If you listen to us, make some money. Do not listen to me on that Eagles pick. That's, as I said, 100% fandom. Do not bet on that.
And edibles.
At a men's, maybe. But my best bet to me, I don't care how many points the Dolphins are getting, Seattle's going to cover. That's just my opinion. Do you have a best bet for anything?
Best bet for NFL is the Eagles will lose.
Wow. Okay. And little bonus action. As you see, I'm wearing my WWE Stun Owen Stun shirt. I did not get a chance to see Clash of Champions, but he did, and yes. I wanted you just to talk a little bit about that. All
right. So I've been a wrestling. We've both been wrestling fans since we were yay tall, and we always. And then when the pandemic hit, we kind of just stopped watching it. Lack of fans, but Vince McMahon started redoing this thing called the Thunderdome, where they have a bunch of fans actually on like Zoom. It was actually pretty entertaining last night. Like I actually sat down and after Eagles and rewatching the game and stuff like that, and I actually like turned it on and actually found myself actually enjoying it.
Actually,
yes, actually enjoy it.
Yeah.
I can't stand Roman Reigns. I felt maybe 4 years ago they should have put him with Paul Heyman and made him a Paul Heyman guy, this and this and this.
And that idea would be put him with a manager so that way someone is speaking for him.
He doesn't have to speak as much.
Right.
And turn him heel, make him heel. Heel in wrestling terms, bad guy. Yep. So they finally did it, and it's been going on for about 2 months now, and it's actually really good. The Noah family is probably the biggest family in wrestling.
They go over about 4 or 5 generations.
Yeah. It's a high P cheater, my view.
Yeah. So and Vince McMahon and all his writers are really, really good at blurring what is real and what is kind of scripted. Yes. We all know, wrestling is coordinated, and so it's not like boxing or UFC, right? We all agree on that.
Right.
The injuries are real.
Yes.
But when they blur the lines, and you were telling me that they've done something really interesting with kind of blurring the lines of real and scripted. Yes,
and what they did was they had one of the cousins of Roman Reigns, who's normally a tag team specialist, but the one brother, there's two twins, Jay and Jimmy Uso, and Jimmy Uso tore his ACL, so they're not a tag team right now. So they decided to put Jay into kind of like the whole thing against Roman. Roman Reigns is the SmackDown champion. They're close in the same age, but he was kind of always bigger than them, even growing up. So they kind of made it seem like he's always been the single star.
And they're cousins.
And they're cousins.
In real life.
In real life.
Yeah.
And they grew up. They actually grew up like best friends. Like, you know what I mean? So it was a lot of fun. The story they told, it was just a lot of fun. And it was actually good to see a decent storyline for once that was entertaining and was able to, regardless if there was live fans or not, they told a really good story with that.
It's fun. So, I mean, just a reminder, I don't mean for this to be a commercial, but you could sign up for the WWE Network. I think the first 30 days are free. Check it out. It might be something you really like. And if not, but hey, it's something interesting with all this other stuff that are starting their new seasons this week. So kind of what to watch for type idea. You have this. I know for me, this and the South Park special that's coming up. Those would be my two things. I've always loved South Park. So, just some little bonus stuff for you. Mm-hmm. Beyond watching us, get a chance to check this stuff out too. So, until next week, we'll see what we're talking about next week. I don't feel, even my prediction, I don't feel good about us having some positive vibes. But I'm Sheik. That's AJ. Stay safe and happy October.
And don't forget to like and subscribe.